Alright, so the video you are about to watch, I will admit, has been sitting in my editor for probably 2 years, maybe longer. Um, it never saw the light of day, and I kinda just gave up on it, and then I went back today, and I was like, I still have these video files." So I'm deciding to publish it. It is heavily unfinished. There's a random cutoff at the very end. Um, there is way too much voiceover. I'm looking back and I'm like, "Oh my god, you can't hear anything." It's not amazing editing wise, but I think it is a hidden gem, and I don't know, I just wanna publish it. So, yeah, I hope you enjoy. Or something like that. Elden Ring is commonly thought of as a difficult game. Between a sprawling open world with many hidden items and enemies, to challenging boss fights that punish you and require perfect attention and reflexes, Elden Ring lives up to the hype of being one of FromSoft's most challenging games ever. Something commonly overlooked in Elden Ring, though, is the ability to heal. There are many ways to heal, with the red crimson flasks being the most obvious and common. But what if a washed up player like myself wanted to beat Elden Ring without healing? First, some ground rules. I will be allowing myself to heal in various other ways throughout this challenge run, including but not limited to passive HP regen found on various gear, as well as healing effects on items and weapons. However, I will not be allowing myself to use anything I consider burst healing, such as the Crimson Flasks or Healing Miracles. Obviously, these are self-imposed rules, and as such, I tried my best to keep them as straightforward as possible. Getting into the game, character creation isn't anything too crazy. Our late game build will be utilizing a strength faith scaling weapon, so to account for that, we choose Vagabond as our starting class, as well as the Crimson Amber Medallion Keepsake for just a little bit of extra HP. Total HP will be very important in this challenge run, so getting any extra bit will go a long way. Finally, I named our character Terminal Teresa because, look, she's not living long, fellas. Early into the run, we encounter our first boss fight. For those of you who don't know much about Elden Ring and haven't really played the game before, this is a very challenging fight. For people who do know the game, well, you can just commit seppuku. This is a scripted fight, meaning you are meant to die and respawn elsewhere in the world. Rather than spending time fighting a boss I will likely lose to, you can just take matters into your own hands. After respawning, we gain access to our flasks, where we promptly throw away those dirty red ones in exchange for blue flasks. Blue flasks refill our FP, which my fat head is currently blocking, and can be thought of as mana. FP allows us to use our weapon skills, something that will come in handy later on in the run. For now, we don't really need either, but to prevent temptation, we make them all blue anyway. Now, let's get back to the run. Our first real boss is good old Rick. This is the tutorial boss, and the community has come to know him as the Soldier of God named Rick. He's a lovely gentleman. Oh, he's dead. Sorry about that, Rick. Moving on, we head topside to meet our first actual fight of the game, and this time I'm not lying. This is the Tree Sentinel, an optional mini-boss who does a hell of a lot more damage than the word mini would make you think. Tree Sentinel can be a very dangerous early game boss, but he holds a weapon we desperately want, the Golden Halberd. Halberds have one of my favorite movesets in the entire game, and the Golden Halberd scales extremely well with a Strength Faith build, which, if you recall, is our endgame target anyway. This makes it a perfect candidate for an early to mid-game weapon. After a few close attempts... there we go. Okay. Yep, I rolled too early. I knew it. And a shift of the face cam.
Yeah, let's just put it top right for it.
We take down the Tree Sentinel and reap our reward. Unfortunately, we do not have the stat requirements to wield the weapon just yet, but we will soon. Just up the road, we meet Melina, our Apartments.com guide, and our insurance against being called Maidenless Tarnished over and over again. She gifts us the spectral steed Torrent, and with that, we're off to the races. Our first stop is an Everjail in which a Crucible Knight resides. This is once again a very difficult fight, but this time it's entirely avoidable and completely unnecessary. However, in a fit of pride and vanity, I felt it necessary to defeat the Crucible Knight, as in my original playthrough, he kicked my ass over and over again. It was time for some revenge. To dodge through that other— oh! Didn't dodge that. Bad. Damn it! I'm dead. Alright, let's try parrying him. I think I remember the parry timing. Damn. Ah! I dodged that. Alright, let's move on. There's no reason to be fighting this guy. If we really want to fight him, we can come back later when we have a few more levels and gear and stuff, so. Alright, maybe the revenge would come later. In the meantime, let's go meet our first unavoidable boss fight. Blah, blah, blah. Margit! This is Margit. Good old Margit. This is Margit, and he is an absolute pain in the ass— I'm done. for us to deal with right now. Eventually, Melina takes pity on us, I guess, and tells us that somehow, after losing the fight multiple times in a row, we've proven our worth. Sure, whatever you say, Melina. Either way, she takes us to the Round Table Hold, our Nexus area where we can upgrade weapons and buy materials from vendors. We don't currently have anything to do here yet, so we decide to head out and slam our heads into the immovable object that is Margit once more. As you can see, the damage is small.
Ooh, that's kind of small.
So instead, we head back out to do some preparation. First, we find Bernal, a totally innocent man we decide to murder in broad daylight. It does not go as easily as I had hoped. Oh, he got me with a charged heavy. No! No, no. Aww. Upon his defeat, we receive a weapon whose weapon art heals the user when damaging enemies around them. However, the stats to wield the weapon were much higher than I thought they would be, so it was a complete waste of time, and we actually never ended up using the weapon at all during the run. Our next stop is an injured Black Knife assassin who, upon defeat, gives us a talisman that heals the wearer a solid chunk of HP when successfully riposting an enemy. A riposte happens anytime an enemy staggers, and a glowing spot can be seen on their model. Attacking them in this state will put the player into a riposte animation, dealing critical damage, and more importantly, making the player immune to damage during the duration of the animation. This immunity, paired with a small chunk of healing, will quickly become our main source of sustain early on in this run. After this, we make a pit stop to pick up the Flask of Wondrous Physic, an item that allows us to mix various teardrop remedies to make a potion with different effects. Currently, we don't have much use for it, but again, it'll become critical very soon. We also stop by to visit our good friend the Beastman, with whom we can trade in Deathroot, an item dropped by some mini-bosses scattered throughout the game, in exchange for bestial miracles. Unfortunately, we were one Deathroot short here, and as such, we do not yet receive the Bestial Vitality miracle, a miracle that gives us passive HP regen over time. With that being said, we will definitely be returning later for that. Oh, and I also grabbed the left half of the Dectus Medallion, a required item for progression later. With all of our errands done, we are finally ready to give Margit another attempt. By this time, I have leveled up enough to properly wield the Golden Halberd, giving us a much needed boost in damage. We give it the old college try time, and time again, but unfortunately, the sustain just isn't there yet. No! Dude, Margit, I swear to God, if you talk about my foolish ambitions again... You know, if I could heal, this would be a lot easier, Margit. To be fair, you can't heal either, so I guess I can't really complain. One more pit stop remains, with this one being guarded by an Erd Tree avatar, a mini-boss found scattered in various places throughout the map. With extreme skill and ease, and I distinctly remember, like, exactly, whoopsies. We defeat the avatar, giving us the Crimson Burst Crystal Tear, a teardrop we can mix into our physic to give us passive HP regen for 3 minutes. Now, we were finally ready to fight Margit. With just a single death this time... I don't know how to dodge this attack! Nailed it. Fuck. We were able to defeat Margit and gain access to Stormvale Castle and the areas beyond. However, there was just one last thing to do before we left. Alright, I'm gonna parry his running attack. Here we go. Oh, get fucked! You know what? Just to disrespect. Never mind, I thought he still had like 1 HP, so I was gonna punch him to death. He did not have 1 HP. Following the defeat of the Crucible Knight, we can finally move on to Stormvale Castle, the last barrier between us and the vast majority of the endgame areas. Honestly, there's not too much to say about Stormvale Castle itself. We mainly just ignore pretty much every enemy on our way to the next boss. The next boss standing in our way is Godric the Grafted, and, well, I'll just let him introduce himself. He's an interesting guy. He's kind of like that guy who always invites themselves to parties, and then acts way cooler than they have any right to be. See for yourself.
Mighty dragon, thou'rt a true-born heir. Lend me thy strength, O kindred. Deliver me unto greater heights. Well. Lowly tarnished. Plain as a lord. I command thee, kneel!
I don't want to.
The Lord of all that is golden.
Like I said, weird dude. Either way, the fight isn't all that bad, especially with our... Like I said, acts way cooler than he has any right to be. As I was saying though, our build is finally starting to come online, and the passive HP regen is starting to put in work. In just 3 attempts, we defeat Godric and gain access to Liurnia of the Lakes. We now enter a new age, the shopping age. Let's get some prep done. First, we stop over in Caelid to pick up some somber smithing stones, as well as to kill the large mother dragon for a good chunk of runes. Using said runes, we increase our vigor to 30 and our endurance to 15 to give ourselves the equip load to wear better armor. While we're here, we also grab the other half of the Dectus medallion, as well as Radagon's Sword Seal, a talisman that raises our vigor, endurance, strength, and dexterity by 5 points each, at the cost of increasing damage received by 15%. You might think this doesn't sound very optimal, especially in a run where we can't heal ourselves very easily, but the overall stat increase is very welcome, and the increase in HP we get from the 5 points in vigor more or less cancels out the plus 15% increase in damage most of the time. Heading back into Liurnia, we take a portal in some ruins to transport us to the gates of Raya Lucaria, our next major landmark we need to clear in order to progress the game. With the gates being locked, we need to swing by and grab the Academy Glintstone key from behind a sleeping dragon. It might have been worthwhile to kill said dragon for the extra runes, but at this point I was just in full collection mode and ended up ignoring it. Moving further north, we find Iji at the foot of Caria Manor, allowing us to purchase somber smithing stones 1, 2, 3, and 4. At the top of Karya Manor, we find yet another boss, this one being the spectral form of Royal Knight Loretta. By this point, you know how this song and dance goes. The fight isn't super hard, I die once while trying to relearn the fight, and then beat her on the second attempt. Easy peasy. After defeating her, the path to Altus Plateau is open, and upon presenting both halves of the Dectus Medallion that we have collected, the elevator allows us entry into the latter half of the game's areas. The biggest stop for us here is all the way at the north of the area, in a small ruined town at the foot of a smaller Erd tree. Here, we find the Icon Shield, another piece of equipment we will be using for the remainder of the run. This shield, so long as it is equipped in the offhand, gives us an additional 3 HP per second of regen, and is often seen as the staple of no-heal runs. Finally, our last stop is defeating a Tibia Mariner, who drops a death root upon defeat. This is the final death root needed to offer to the Beastmen in order to gain Bestial Vitality, another staple of the run. This miracle regenerates 5 HP per second for 2 minutes, stacking with our Icon Shield regeneration. With these two pieces of equipment, we are now more or less set for any fights that come our way. And speaking of which, we have one final fight in this area before doubling back to Liurnia. In order to gain entrance to Leyndell, we must first defeat the Draconic Tree Sentinel, a more powerful version of the Tree Sentinel we defeated to receive the Golden Halberd. This is not the easiest fight in the world, even with our newfound HP regen items. The Tree Sentinel does enough damage to threaten 2-hit kills, and is fast enough to keep the pressure up with it. After a few attempts, though, we finally had this one.
Yeah.
Okay, can't do a charged heavy off of that. Good to know. Damn it. Yeah, let's back up. Let's give ourselves a little bit of time to heal. Can't do a charge heavy off of that. I got lucky. Ooh. I mistimed that dodge just a little bit. Only a tiny bit, though. Let's go! Alright, that was not that bad. What was that? 4 attempts? Nice. After defeating the Draconic Tree Sentinel, the path to Leyndell is nearly open. However, we must first double back to Liurnia and Caelid to defeat Rennala and Radahn in order to have enough Great Runes to unlock the door. First up is Rennala. Defeating Rennala will give us access to respecking our class at any point, but that's not really something we need. In all honesty, I'm doing Rennala first because she is far easier to defeat than Radahn, at least in my opinion. To reach Rennala, we teleport back to Liurnia and use the Glintstone Academy key to gain access to Raya Lucaria. Before we can confront Rennala, we must first defeat her guard dog, a giant-ass wolf. I mean, seriously, what the hell has she been feeding this thing? Anyway, the fight is super easy, and we beat it on our first attempt. And we beat it on our second attempt. Heading further into the academy, it's smooth sailing all the way to... Oh yeah, Moongrum. This is Moongrum. He is an NPC enemy, meaning his AI is significantly better than the AI of typical enemies in the area, and he's just all around a pain to deal with. He also really likes the elevator. I do not.
Huh. You think he'll be on the elevator when I call it back down?
Oh shit! Oh my god! Oh, that actually scared the shit out of me. I didn't see him at first. He just fell on my head. Oh my god, that legitimately scared me. Holy shit. Moonga.
I'm in danger.
No, he's on the elevator again. No! That legitimately scared me. After defeating Moongrum, thank god he doesn't respawn, we now have a straight shot to Renala's boss fight. The first stage of this boss fight is a little more gimmicky than most others. It involves me running around and slaughtering little girls. What's that? My lawyer has advised me not to make this joke. Note to self, edit this out in post. In reality, Renala is protected by a shield, and in order to make her vulnerable, you have to find the scribes that are glowing and kill them in order to break her shield. Once her health hits 0, it's on to Phase 2. Phase 2 is a bit more of a pain, but for normal runs, Renala is not that difficult of a boss, and this run is normal enough to the point where it is not exceptionally difficult. A lot of her attacks are very slow and telegraphed, and honestly simply just require you to run to one side or the other. She also very easily gets staggered, so after 1 or 2 hits, she tends to stagger and jump away from you to reset. Dirty wizards, am I right? With Renala defeated, it's now back to Caelid to take on Radahn. I know there's a bunch of lore around Radahn and the fact that he's an absolute unit of a man who quite literally is controlling the motion of the stars, but I mean, just look at this guy. He's just kind of Manchin.
Now he gathers the corpses of former friends and foes alike, gorging on them like a dog.
Oh yeah, and howling. Lots of howling.
Howling at the sky.
I'm not gonna lie to you, Radahn kicked my butt. It took me about 25 minutes and 10 attempts to beat him, but we finally managed to smack him in the butt enough times to kill him. 2 more demigods down.
Alright. That wasn't horrible, but man, is that a tough fight.
After this, we take a quick, painless shortcut to reach Volcano Manor, where I quickly get fed up with having to defeat this boss and decide to leave, and then promptly come back because I couldn't remember the other way to make it there. So instead, I take way too long to defeat these Iron Maiden bosses, only to progress slightly further and realize I could have just met up with Raya via a different path and gone to Volcano Manor that way. Whatever. I'm not mad. You are. After exploring Volcano Manor, we make it to everyone's favorite boss, Fatty. I mean, his name is Godskin Noble, but, like, come on. His name is Fatty. Anyway, Fatty proceeds to make me never want to play this game again, killing me more times than I'm willing to admit.
I'm dead! Let's go!
I think you get the picture. Finally, we kill him, and there was much rejoicing. It's fine though, because surely he wouldn't show up again later in the game, right? After Fatty, the last thing left to do in Volcano Manor is to defeat Rykard,
Just killed a boss.
the
Yes,
Lord
you
of the
have runes.
House.
Well, to be fair, we spent them on
Unfortunately,
level up,
the man has
sometimes
caught
you
a
can, like,
serious
level up
case
kind of
of,
perfectly, so you
I'm
have,
now a gigantic
300
snake,
runes
and
left
I don't
over.
really have any legs anymore, but I'm a
do not.
god. Pretty much your typical Tuesday. Rykard is the true gimmick fight of this game, where the game gives you a special weapon to use to defeat him. After returning to the blacksmith to upgrade the weapon somewhat, Rykard doesn't stand a chance, and we can resume our journey back to Lanedale. The first order of business, once we make it inside Lanedale, is to attempt a skip that, more than likely, has already been patched. Either that, or I just suck.
I don't know, you guys want to find out?
They might have patched it. We'll see. At a senior level for anything. Well, if you're... I don't know, I shouldn't say like you're confident... Oh, there is a ledge there. Okay, it might be possible. There is a ledge there. There's something there. The worst thing that can happen. Are you sure about that? John Cena, relax. Alright, we totally just missed it there. Nice. Moving on from there, we make a quick pit stop to make ourselves look absolutely beautiful. After our totally necessary pit stop, we stop to pick up one of the last major pieces of equipment we need, the Blessed Dew Talisman. This talisman offers the wearer an additional 2 HP per second of passive regen, and yes, it does stack with the other effects we currently have. Once we've gathered all of the necessary components, we attempt the next boss in line, Golden Godfrey. Godfrey is probably one of my favorite boss fights in Elden Ring, as it feels like there's a lot of skill and rhythm involved, and it's just generally a lot of fun. I, however, lack the necessary skill to be good, and therefore get my salad tossed repeatedly by this man. Oh, I'm dead. Yeah, I do not remember this boss fight very well. Ah, he caught me on the roll. After quite a few attempts, I decide to call it quits for the time being, and leave to go grab some more somber smithing stones to upgrade our halberd. I am smort. Let's go! Having already collected Sombers 8 and 9, we can now upgrade our golden halberd to +9, an incredible power spike compared to the +4 we were at previously. Back to Godfrey. This time, the fight goes much smoother, and we are able to clear him on our first attempt back. However, there's no time to rest, as our next boss fight is right down the block.
Pillagers, emboldened by the flame of ambition. Have it writ upon thy meager grave. Felled by King Morgoth, last of all kings.
Cool story, bro. I'm dying. Morgoth is another incredibly fun fight, but once again, I suffer from that age-old get good expression, and I end up having a lot of trouble against him. So much so that it takes almost 40 minutes of straight attempts to defeat him, and by the end of it, I am left doubting the efficacy of my build. Every boss after this would only get healthier, get harder, and have longer fights. Meanwhile, my build is almost complete, and it's not getting much better from here. Or is it? Before we can improve the build, though, it's onwards and upwards toward the mountaintops of the Giants, where we once again speedrun the surrounding area to make it to our ultimate goal, the Fire Giant. The Fire Giant is often seen as a huge obstacle in challenge runs due to the mind-boggling amount of HP it has. 43,263 to be exact. To put that into perspective, Morgoth, the boss we just struggled with for over half an hour, has 10,399 HP. This beast of a boss fight has 4 times more HP. Now, that's not to say it's 4 times more difficult. The fight itself is not insanely challenging, it's just much more of a marathon than a sprint. Overall, it only takes me 7 attempts to defeat him, with the 7th attempt being almost 5 minutes long just by itself. And unfortunately, these videos are not monetized, otherwise I would subject you to all of it just for some extra ad revenue.
You're lucky. This time. With the fire giant defeated, though, it's finally time to say goodbye to our good friend and guide, Melina. Not the waifu. Anyone but the waifu.
O Erd tree, you shall burn. Burn for the sake of the new Lord. Thank you for guiding me here. The one who walks alongside flame shall one day meet the road of destined death. Goodbye.
First of all, I don't know what kind of drugs she slipped us to be able to knock us out cold through our armor and teleport us to some distant floating land without us waking up. If you know what it was, though, just let me know. I'm not a rat, just asking for a friend. Upon waking up from the heaviest hangover the world has ever known, we find ourselves in Farum Azula, the location of a lot of pain and suffering. And I mean a lot.